Hello and welcome to the 98th episode of Growing Up Geek, the weekly podcast for geek entertainment and nostalgia. My name is Brad, and I am joined by a man who I love like a brother, my brother Rob.
Like a brother?
Yeah, you know, it's ironic.
Oh, ha ha ha.
But
Okay, and officially this episode is brought to you by the Higgs Boson particle. Now you see it, now it goes back in time, now you've never seen it.
Dude, I saw your Twitter, and I have heard about that.
Yes.
The discussion that we may have done it, but then gone back in time and undone it.
Or it's great that this is actually news, like that physicists are like, they're like, oh yeah, indeed, this is a possibility, rather than just be like, okay, we're terrible scientists and have not been able to make this the Large Hadron Collider work.
This is the greatest explanation for anything.
Yeah.
If you're ever blamed for anything, just say, I may have done it, but then gone back in time.
Or somebody went back in time and stopped you.
Okay, somebody went back in time and stopped
Everybody's confused about what we're talking about, so I'll make this clear. A New York Times article came out talking about the Large Hadron Collider, right? Yeah. Which is the big bazillion-kilometer-sized racetrack for microscopic particles that is designed to slam them together and kind of discover new things in quantum physics.
Right.
Anyway,
the thing that doesn't work.
They've never gotten it to work. And every time they do, something bizarre happens. Most recently...
Time travel is the most recent bizarre thing.
Exactly. Well, most recently, a bird flew over it just as they were getting ready to make it go and dropped a baguette into...
A baguette?
Yeah.
Like the
like
French?
The bread. Somebody's like, it was like Luke Skywalker dropping the torpedo. And they're like, the odd thing is the bird switched off his targeting computer right before.
Yes. That's beautiful, dude. I thought you were going to say Luke Skywalker dropping a tortilla into the thing. I was like, I don't remember that.
He dropped a baguette or a tortilla. It's some sort of carbonation or carb. Anyways, so the scientists running this machine have theorized that the only possible reasonable reason why this isn't working is because when you discover the Higgs boson particle, which is what they're looking for...
I think that's a weapon in Ghostbusters.
It probably is. I wouldn't put it past Dan Aykroyd.
Sorry, go ahead.
But the discovery of it sends a ripple back in time...
Yeah.
Which causes it to be undiscovered. Or that, how everybody's like, the Large Hadron Collider is going to destroy the universe? Yeah. Well, it's very possible that it does, in fact, destroy the universe. But it also causes the universe to jump to another universe where the Large Hadron Collider hasn't destroyed the universe.
If these are real explanations in science, I should have been a scientist a long time ago.
Oh, it's incredible job security for them.
Yeah. No, you know what? That's true. And this is the kind of stuff that makes people distrustful of science. Because it was typically an answer like, well, scientists say, and then everyone's supposed to shut up. You know what I mean? But it may be time to reevaluate that. I have nothing to say about science. But I did go to the Blockbuster Video at midnight to get a video game.
Yeah? You were getting Band Hero.
No, I was getting the 6th COD. COD 6, perhaps you've heard of it.
Ew.
That's the most recent COD. No, I got Modern Warfare 2, and I'm playing it. I've only played like 2 levels of it. Everybody has this game, so we are going to review this, or at least I am, next week.
Yeah, I don't have it yet.
That's right, you don't have it yet. But just letting people know, look, I'm playing it too. There. Does that count as a review?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, come on. So many podcasts are talking about this game. Mm-hmm. Just, if you want to find out about it, just switch to another podcast right now. I mean, I think...
Well, that's true, but I'd be curious about your take on it.
Right now, my take on it is like, where the heck did this come from? I'm like just incredibly out of touch.
Yeah.
But this is like people are like, this is the largest launch since not even like Halo 3, but like Metal Gear Solid, this is the hugest thing since Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, you're out of touch. It's basically, it's hilarious because they've had to push every other game to 2010 to avoid, competing with this. And I think that's what you're saying, like, who knew that it would be such a big launch,
Absolutely. I mean, I knew it was going to be a big game, but come on, it's the 6th thing in a franchise from Activision, It's like, people get excited about Madden, but it's not like, oh my gosh, it's been forever since the last game, and can you believe that they actually managed to, bring the team back together and make this
This is why I think you need to review this game, because I think you hold a very unique perspective on this. Like, everything that I listen to says, oh my God, it's obviously the greatest shooter ever, and I actually join in on that. I think Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1, I think is pretty much the best way to do a shooter, like that has been done so far. First person, anyway.
Right.
It's just they're doing things, and they're still, spoilers, but they're still doing things that like other companies just don't even know how to do.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like when Gears came out and it blew everything away, and you're like, how did this drop out of the future? I feel that way when I'm playing an Infinity Ward developed one. Treyarch does an okay job, on the off years, but Modern Warfare is still ranked one of the number one games to play on Xbox Live, and it's a couple years old.
Well, that's my problem, is I never played that. Like, I heard a lot about it, but
wow,
I think it was because I had a fire in my house.
That was way more intense than any
like,
fire in the game could be.
Exactly, and I was just like, man, these particle effects.
Well, we'll move on, but no, I think you have a unique perspective, and dude, I'm surprised you never played the first one, but you owe it to yourself to play at least one of them.
I guess it'll be the second one.
It probably will be. I feel bad the audience is like listening to us discuss what we're going to do for next week. This should probably be off the air. But let's move on. Speaking of video games, you're playing PS3.
I am. My roommate got a PS3. I've rarely had this happen where my roommates get something I don't have. Usually I'm the guy who's bringing home like Beatles Rock Band, and they're like, oh, dude, we have to play. But just out of nowhere, my roommate was just like, he's one moment, he's like, I think I'm going to get a PS3. It's pretty much awesome now, and so I'm going to go get it. And then I come home, and there it is. And I'm like, dude, so... And he's been very active about just like, what's this game? Trine, I'll download it. All right, Flower, okay,
awesome.
Get that. All right, what's it? So I've been catching up basically with PS3, and it's been awesome.
So as out of touch as you are on Modern Warfare, here comes the most out of touch comments ever. In fact, this podcast, let's file this in last year.
All right, so this is, oh boy, man, how about this election?
Wow.
Who do you think's gonna win?
Yeah.
That's Sarah Palin. She's some pistol.
Anyway, so you're playing PS3.
Yeah. Right now, the biggest thing that I've played on PS3 and that I want to talk about on the show here is Flower. By far, this is a unique experience that I was looking forward to having on PS3, and I didn't know much about the game, so I was like, all right, I'll give it a try, and it was there.
Yeah.
That being said, Flower is awesome. Like, it's like Portal awesome. You know?
Man.
Like, well, I don't know if I should say that, because it's not the humor or anything that Portal had that was so unique, but if anything, it's because it comes off as this sort of like simple indie game that maybe you'd play on the internet.
Yeah.
But then it sharply turns into being something much grander.
Cool.
And I thought that was awesome. The narrative arc of this game with, no characters really to speak of and anything is incredibly impressive.
Yeah, for people who don't know, you play as the wind, basically. You're blowing flower petals around.
Yeah, or I guess you're like a single flower petal, but then you pick up other flower petals, so it sort of has like a Katamari Damacy sort of thing going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's only like 5 levels, and between those 5 levels, it does what, like Star Wars took 3 movies to do.
Yeah.
Which was like establishing, normalcy, establishing these characters. Right. Then, the dark times come. Then, victory over that.
So that's pretty epic scope for... I actually haven't heard people say that. Now, I have heard a lot of things about the ending. And nobody has spoiled it, but they've all said that the ending is really great.
Yeah, and it is. Here's what I think a lot of developers could take from Flower.
Yeah.
Maybe playing around with the idea of starting their stories a little further back.
Right.
A lot of stories start with like, in Star Wars, and then the dark times came.
Right.
Right. And then you start then when conceivably it's most interesting, when the conflict has occurred or happened.
Right.
But Flower starts before that. Flower starts off with like
Episode 1.
Everything. Well, not just that. Yeah, that's crap.
No, that's a bad analogy.
But no. It starts off with like everything is happy and great, and it's fun that it's that way, and you're enjoying yourself. You're like, wow, I love this life, just like, yay, flowers. And so you get used to that, and then next thing you know, it's like there's a bad twist. And the way they do that is awesome in terms of like having the player discover it, like rather than like a cutscene or anything. Mm-hmm. And then whenever you're able to finally twist things around and kind of return things to normal, you're happy that you overcame this thing that was messing with your game and sort of like, oh, finally I'm back to normal. So I would really like to see like a AAA title with like a story or something, like an RPG action game or whatever. Start off with a mode of gameplay that is fun in and of itself, even when the world is at peace. Mm-hmm. Something like Animal Crossing or The Sims maybe. Yeah. But then introduce conflict on top of that, and it makes it all the more like, oh man, you took away my beauty. Yeah,
someone has like perverted what was fun.
Right, and then you have to fight that and overcome it, and it feels a lot more genuine. So I've gone on for a long time, but Flower is a worthwhile play, and what it does in 5 levels is amazing.
Yeah. The reason I was excited to play that was because it seemed like it was trying to do a whole new type of emotion that the player would feel, rather than just, and I was saying this to Amber, I'm playing Modern Warfare 2, but like the feeling that most of these games evoke from you now is domination or power or survival or something, like that. And it's nice to just have a game evoke beauty.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said that like this game did that, and it tapped into certain emotions, which I know a lot of guys are, afraid to have a feeling, but there's more to the range of human emotion than just, power and domination.
Right.
Or fear, or that kind of thing. And that excited me, and I do look forward to playing that. It's funny that we've actually had to finally get someone else to get a PS3 for us to play this stuff. But yeah, there was a chart online that showed all of the heroes in modern gaming. Like in every modern game, like Mass Effect and Prototype and like all of these Infamous, all these different ones, and they're all white dudes with shaved heads.
Bros.
Like it really like hurt my heart when I saw that. I'm like, man, where's the creativity? And it's cool to see a game that does something like that.
Yeah, it'd be great. Like the top 10, protagonists in video games, and you have like Mario, Sonic, Master Chief, and then you have like this little flower petal. It'd be like,
yeah, how do we start with like a fat plumber with a mustache and then like a blue rodent, and now we're just in this cycle of just shaved head like frat boys.
It's focus grouping and stuff like that. Like that is the person playing these games. I mean, you waited in line at midnight. How many baseball caps did you count?
Well, I won't go into that. But yeah, it was a long line.
Midnight baseball caps shouldn't exist. There's no sun in your eyes.
Okay. So you're playing with some new hardware there. I'll tell you some new hardware that I'm looking forward to playing with, and that is the Droid.
The Droid?
The Droid. Speaking of, this is actually funny. Verizon had to license this from Lucasfilm. This word is owned by Lucasfilm. But yeah, for those that don't know, Droid came out Friday. That is Motorola's new phone for Verizon. There was a lot of people showing up at Verizon stores to get this, and why is because it is Android 2.0. That is Google's operating system for phones. And the probably closest thing to an iPhone that you're going to get if you're stuck with Verizon, which, as I've mentioned before, I totally am. So I've been doing a lot of research about the Droid. And I got to say, when I start doing this kind of thing, I start going down the slippery slope. I'm watching YouTube unboxing videos. I'm watching high-def walkthroughs. And pretty soon, I buy it. You know what I mean? Like, the obsession creeps in. So I'm fully obsessed with Droid now. Couple reasons why. One is the phone itself has a beautiful screen. It's like a high-res screen. It's actually, when you play YouTube clips on most smartphones, they're in the low quality mode. This phone actually can play the high quality setting.
Oh, cool.
Which is pretty cool. It's really fast hardware too. It's like a 600 megahertz processor, which it'll make you cry if you think about like how we used to own computers that were way less powerful than that. But because it's 600 megahertz, like when you tap around on the screen, it's ultra responsive, and that's something that really does matter to me. Like click a thing, instantaneous launch,
touchability. It's like it's the thing that every Verizon phone before has like completely sucked at.
Toothsomeness, if you will.
Ew.
No, touchability. Yeah, fast hardware. It's got Google Maps navigation, which is a beta thing, but so beautiful. On your homepage, you have the Google bar. because it's a Google phone.
Right.
And there's an icon next to that, which is a speaker. You press the speaker and you just say what you're searching for. And I swear, I've made fun of voice recognition for years now, while quietly Google has been like perfecting the sucker to where now you just say anything and it automatically like determines what you mean.
The voice recognition is definitely the thing that I was impressed by. Being a Palm Pre owner, there's a lot that I don't really feel like I'm missing out on, but that was something that I was like, oh man, it has voice recognition.
So let's say you're out there and you're in your car or whatever, and you're just like, you press this icon, which is on your main homepage, and you're like, ice cream. It appears, you press, and it voice navigates you there. It's pretty cool. I have to say, I like that a lot. The phone itself also has virtual keyboard support. I think Android 2.0 has this now as a standard, which is virtual keyboard in landscape or when it's standing up. So even though Droid has a keyboard, which a lot of people are kind of mixed on, because the keys are kind of shallow, it slides underneath the screen, just like the Palm Pre. It has to kind of be shallow keys. Mm-hmm. People are mixed on that. I think it's nice for typing long emails and stuff to have that full keyboard, but you don't have to use it. Like, you can just type your way around the interface with the on-screen, which is something I wish the Pre had, and maybe it will with a future update or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess the Pixie also has a hardware keyboard, so they're kind of shying away from that right now.
Yeah, that's right. The Pixie comes out, I think, next week, too. So that's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, and dude, I would love to have a Palm Pre, but I'm on Verizon, and maybe it's not such a bad thing. They do have a very powerful network, and so this launched. I'm really excited to try it out more. One thing that the Pre did that they kind of borrowed in Android 2.0, which is cool, is when you're on your contacts list, anybody that you click on, like, Rob, immediately scrolls out a list of all the different modes of communication, like email, Facebook, all that.
Yeah, the synergy thing is so amazing. And now I'm using I'm using my computer. I'm just like, why doesn't this have everything linked?
Yeah, I'm wondering what kind of a user I'll be when I finally get a smartphone, if I'll be the kind that just starts to abandon their home computer. You know what I mean? Like, in favor of doing more things on the phone.
In a way, yeah. Like, I can admit that having like specialized apps for your hardware is such a good feeling. Yeah. And when I start to use like even, my Apple and I'm like booting up a program, I'm just like, ugh, why is it this way? Why can't it be as cool as apps are, where it's really kind of integrated with everything? I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, that synergy thing you're mentioning, it is kind of what's getting me excited for Facebook and Twitter coming to the Xbox.
Wow, you're the one guy that's excited.
I know, well, because I was thinking about this. I'm like, if it scans my Facebook friends list and is like, okay, all of these people have Xbox Live accounts and you didn't know about it.
Right.
So now here's all your friends that are on Facebook, and now you can play video games with them on Xbox Live.
Yeah.
I'll be like, heck yeah, populate my friends list, Takes a lot of the manual work out of that.
Yeah, I do like that they're merging all these digital places that we have stuff stored, that they're merging them together. Because the truth is, we have stuff in a lot of places, Gmail and all that stuff, and it's nice to just put it all onto one device and put it in your pocket. So anyway, that is the Droid. So let's move on now. Yeah. You and I this week saw The Box, which is the newest film from Richard Kelly, who, if people don't know, is the guy that brought us Donnie Darko, a major cult film, and also brought us The Miserable Southland Tales, which is not a major film. It was actually a pretty big failure. But so this is his third attempt.
Okay.
And it is based on a short story, actually, that was published in Playboy quite a long time ago, and then expanded later into a Twilight Zone episode. And it is now expanded even further into this feature film. It's funny, it's actually listed as a horror, thriller, sci-fi, suspense movie. I'll let you give the synopsis of the film, but I'm also curious if it produced any of those 20 emotions within you.
Well, it's certainly tried. The synopsis of this movie. Basically, a man with a meaty face appears at the door of this family.
Well, his face is partially eaten away, like scarred.
Yeah, computer effect happens. And so I thought it was funny when she offered him some food, and I was just like, just don't give him soup.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. But anyways, he drops this box off at this family's house. And then he comes by and explains what's going on. And there's the box, there's a key, and he says to them, okay, there's a button. You can clearly see it on top of the box.
Right.
You push this button, two things will happen. You will receive $1 million in cash, and somebody who you don't know will die.
Yes.
All right? That is the premise. That is the original premise, and that is the, in my opinion, strongest point of this movie.
I will quickly say that the lady is Cameron Diaz. The guy is James Marsden, who people might remember as Cyclops from X-Men.
Oh, yeah.
And it's set like in the 70s.
It is a period movie. I think that's also something that I took note of, is that this is very much a period piece. Like the 70s is a big part of kind of what's going on in this movie, and sort of the launch of the Mars exploration program. They use interesting kind of camera effects and stuff to make it almost look like a movie that was filmed in the 70s, but sort of updated. So I kind of apprecialright, let's
come back to that.
Anyways, what ends up happening is they push the button.
Hey.
Well, come on, you see that in the trailer.
All right, we'll leave that in, but Amber's only comment she wanted me to say on the podcast was that the trailer gave a lot of this movie away.
That is true.
So if you're interested in seeing this, maybe don't see the trailer. But I'm sorry. Back to you.
Well,
sorry.
yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, so all of this mystery. Then, who is this guy? What was this box about? Twists and turns and things happen, and you are left with the feeling of, oh my goodness.
Are you? I mean, that's the thing. You said it tried to. You said it tried to produce emotions in you. I assume it failed?
It did. In my opinion, this is not, in fact, one movie, because I really agree with that sort of genre description. There is a movie here that is worth seeing, or at least hearing about, which is the short story, the Button, and so kind of you can talk with your friends. Well, what I do, and then what do you do about that?
Right.
So that was like the original story. Clean-cut moral, clean-cut problem. It's popular for a reason.
Right.
Now you have Hollywood, which gets this movie and has to expand it into not just a 1.5-hour movie, but in fact a 2-hour-long movie.
Yeah.
And it is crap from then on. The story that they somehow it was like watching Lost in its worst moments. When they're really not sure where they want to go, but they need to produce a product. So they just kind of slap things out at you, and they're like, we'll explain this somehow later, but here for now, just, man with a face, noses.
Yeah, I do think that's a Richard Kelly invention, and he's been quoted as saying, I want to make a movie that's commercially successful, obviously after Southland Tales, who wouldn't? But without losing my artistic vision. And I think those elements, some of the stranger elements, I think are Kelly. Not R. Kelly, the singer, but they're Richard Kelly's invention. And I think you can kind of tell where it's sort of the standard Twilight Zone story and where it's getting into some very strange... anyone who saw Donnie Darko knows how weird that movie was at times.
And I do want to say this movie is 2 hours long, and it is not 2 hours long because there's 2 hours of content. It is just arduously paced.
Correct.
I'm just sitting there she slowly walks in the room, slowly picks up the phone, and slowly listens to who's on the other end, who speaks slowly.
I think that the dialogue actually comes from the School of Dead Rising, where people take a long time to respond to each other. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it felt like they were trying to fill a certain time slot. And for as much as this isn't driven by any sort of franchise or it's not a sequel or anything, it feels like it was rushed out. The editing is completely sloppy. There are huge continuity problems. I literally, at one moment, thought that there was a doppelganger in this movie of one of the main characters.
Okay.
Because this character, one moment, would be emotionally one way, kind of happy, and then a split second later would be getting sick and just sweating and it seemed like two different people. There's transitions that you should be seeing that you don't,
It's something that you're not allowed to criticize, because it's the director's style choice. You know what I mean? He could always just say, well, it's supposed to be old cheesy acting. You know what I mean? But I was surprised by that. The music in the entire film, which is actually done by Arcade Fire. I guess we're in our period of, popular indie bands scoring films, but the music is all totally old school, 60s sci-fi.
It almost sounds like it was coming from the TV in the other room, Yeah,
and I agree with you. It kind of doesn't match 100%,
No,
but
not
also
at all.
like their acting is a little bit like stiff as like the old people. There's a part where Diaz actually says to her husband, she says, "I know you better than you know yourself." It's the worst delivery.
Yeah.
It's the worst acting. I actually thought James Marsden was really good. I think toward the end especially, he really pulls his acting chops. But that delivery, I was like, that would be not out of place in the old Twilight Zone. But to see it now, it's like, oh man, it's really bad. And my only hope is that he meant it to be like a tribute. Unfortunately, it ends up feeling kind of strange. But I did enjoy this more than you did. I want to stop crapping on it for a split second to take a moment to wipe and then proceed to say that I did think that this movie had more good than bad. I like Twilight Zone. I'm a big fan of that, and I've often said that I think M. Night Shyamalan should make serialized television. And actually, at its best moments, I thought that this movie felt like good Shyamalan.
That's some good Shyamalan.
Yeah, exactly. Tastes like I won't even go there. Anyway, so it's like you said, it's a little uneven. There's craziness that feels like it doesn't belong here, and then there's really good stuff, and I felt that there was more good than bad. It actually held my interest for the most part. So I would recommend this if you're a fan of like Twilight Zone or M. Night. I think it maintains that feel, but again, it does dip down into some, like you said, some crap. There is some crap here, and probably as a result of expanding a short story into a long movie, which, by the way, the ending has been different in every version, every incarnation of this story. I find that interesting. But so just put a cap on it for us. The box.
Would you push the button?
Good question. And I want to say, actually, real quick, too, that this did spawn discussion between Amber and I. And not so much about the box, whether we would push the button, but about the motives behind the people who have given them the box.
This movie is over-explained. I think they shouldn't have bothered. And sorry, this is one thing I hold against it, and I hold against a lot of movies. I don't like it when they just cut to two characters talking who have nothing to do with the plot, but they're just there to explain the mythology. Like, Here's what's going on. Did you hear about the news a long time ago when this strange... It was just like, okay... There are settings and things in this movie that occur apart from each other that never meet. You know, it's just like, here's 7 different movies.
I recently watched, I twittered about this, I recently watched Monsoon Wedding, which is an Indian film that was a good example of 7 different movies in one.
Yeah.
All these different complex relationships all based around this wedding. And I was like, oh, that's good, and that's good. It's a little bit like the Moulin Rouge experience where I was like, I was suddenly a baby sitting at a smorgasbord of goodness, and I'm like, everything is great. I think this you have some duds in here.
Yeah.
You definitely have some dud moments.
So would you push the button?
The right thing to do would be to say no.
Mm-hmm.
I think I go through the exact same mental gymnastics that they went through, which is, what if it's just going to be some vagrant in some foreign country that doesn't, that they're dying anyway, and it's like, I mean, those are terrible thoughts to have.
Yeah.
But it's like, the idea of $1 million. I do find it interesting that it was $1 million.
Well, in the 70s, that was a huge amount of money. Like $100, like they make a note of that. Like $100 is a big deal.
That's true.
Then.
That's true.
Yeah.
The original story was only $200,000. Would you push the button? I'll throw it back at you, I guess.
I don't believe I would, but some of the events of this movie raise into question, would it make a difference whether or not I pushed that button? I don't know if they really fully answer that question.
Yeah, clearly I give this movie more credit than you did. I had a good time with it as like a Twilight Zone film, literally, from the 70s, warts and all. But I fully understand your points. They're valid.
I think I was too conscious of how much it was costing to see the movie and how much time it was taking out of my day.
Always a problem. Always a problem, yeah.
I literally left this movie, and I think this is a cap on it. I literally left this movie, looked around at the posters of all the movies that were coming out, and just felt like there are no good movies in existence.
Oh, that's too bad.
This movie made me feel like movies are dying.
Oh, that's too bad. And I feel especially responsible because I suggested it.
It's not your fault.
Well, I apologize for that. I think the phrase that The Onion uses is time vampire, which I've always enjoyed. But so, yeah, let's move on. Let's distance ourselves from the box and get a little nostalgic. Every week we like to bring up something from our childhood, something we grew up with that's kind of geeky. And, we're coming up on 10-year anniversary of Y2K. Everyone remembers Y2K, the big scare.
Right.
I thought we'd throw out some memories from that because we lived in a more conservative family than some.
Right.
And what would you say?
That Bill Gates is a genius, making people upgrade their machines to Windows 98.
Yeah.
I wish I will do the same thing he does if I'm ever running a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Bill Gates is going to make so much money off of this. It was
frighteningly realistic impression there. I remember television programs with a woman, and she was talking about how the Antichrist could use this to come through bring on the end of days.
Was it Rexella Van Impe?
It may have been. It was one of the best names ever. Sorry, it's inside baseball here for Pennsylvania television, but yeah, gosh, there was everything from the who cares, which is most people I talk to now say, oh, I didn't care. I think we kind of took the middle of the road approach, like if it happens, let's be prepared.
Yeah. I think that the thing is that geeks and computer users kind of realized sort of what that meant. It meant like, all right, a lot of equations are going to be thrown off,
Right.
And like there can't be much more than that. It's not like a kill code is going to be, coming out and just nukes are going to be launched. It's like,
I think that's what there was a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Like right before Y2K?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what they showed? I think it was sort of like the 2012 kind of devastation. Like stuff was blowing up.
Yeah, like really just like boom, and it moved like each hour another city blew up.
It's actually a good structure for a television movie, because you just every hour something new blows up.
There you go.
I think the time delay is actually what convinced me eventually that it was going to be fine because Japan rolled over like way before us, and I saw that nothing happened, and I was like, well, they're controlled by robots, so we're all fine.
I know. There's countries that like didn't even bother with the upgrade, and they had no problems. Like the most I heard about was like a Blockbuster video return was like, thousands of dollars because it calculated that it was 100 years overdue.
Imagine that TV movie. Yeah.
So, oh my goodness. Starring
Edward James Olmos. Yeah, I have no idea.
It was funny. We did have a Y2K survival closet.
We did, and we ate it for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
We ate like canned beans. It was kind of great, actually. Like, we just went downstairs to grocery shop. It
was nice, yeah.
It was nice. We didn't buy a generator or any such stuff, but we did have a lot of canned beans.
Yeah, and I mean, they had survival kits and things like that, so just in case.
Yeah.
But no, it didn't happen, and now everybody is swiftly expecting 2012 to be the end of the world.
I've heard Mayan people are very kind of agitated about this, and like some of their spokespeople, I guess, have come forward and said, we had to end the calendar at some point. Like, we weren't just going to keep adding years forever.
Right. Yeah. Whatever is like, and then I hear Art Bell on the radio like talking about how aliens are going to come visit us and teach us all sorts of things on 2012.
Aliens in movies always being smarter than us, gotta say, getting a little sick of it.
Well, they got here somehow. They had to be smart enough to get here.
I know, but I would like to see a movie where we visit them and teach them like they're just morons.
Well, that movie is coming out, Planet 13.
You know what? Oh, James my face is melting off as I said
Johnson, or whatever.
No. I can't believe I just did that. That was totally natural, too. I did not mean to do that. Sorry, DreamWorks, but no, I will not see that.
Why is The Rock cast as in a cartoon? He's a physical presence at the best. Like, I heard his voice, and I'm like, well, that's a guy's voice.
Can you smell what The Rock's been eating?
No.
Okay. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week. It would be cool to see aliens get schooled by us, wouldn't it?
Isn't that what Avatar is?
Maybe.
See, everything that you bring up is quickly shot down.
I have no creativity whatsoever. 2012. That actually looks half decent to me. The effects, especially.
It's by the makers of ID4.
ID4. Yeah. Well, geez, that's.
And Stargate.
Hey, now that's a cool movie.
Go see Stargate.
Yeah. All right, so that's going to do it for this week. If you would like to email us, you may do so. Our email address is mail@growing-up-geek.com. And you can follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/GUGBrad and GUGRob. And on behalf of both of us, we will see you next week.
Bunny way.
Ghost ride the wind, ghost ride the wind, ghost ride the wind. shades on. Put your stunner shades on. Now gas, break, dip, gas, break, dip. Shake them dreads, shake them dreads, shake them dreads, shake them dreads. Let me see you show your breed. Let me see you show your bread. Now fierce,